Where are we at in society today? Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
Go ahead. Make my day.
Every single week, I put my freaking heart and soul into this. I don't go out there and laugh. It's not funny. It's not fun. Nothing's funny to me. I don't want to go out there and get embarrassed on Monday Night Football in front of everybody.
I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship.
So ain't nothing changed from yesterday. Still the same person I was yesterday, and I got the same thing for you that I had yesterday. You know why I'm here.
You play to win the game.
I don't know why the speaker.
You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire. Get out. Because it matters.
Wow, another busy day and another busy morning for us to discuss a lot of things that have taken place in the world of sports. Welcome, everybody, on X's and BrO's throughout the state of Michigan on this Tuesday morning. I'm Matt Shepard. Tigers a nice win yesterday, and another guy who is really stepping forward and making other people perhaps think, maybe I was a little prejudgmental with this player. We'll get to that coming up here on X's and BrO's after Detroit's 6-2 win over the Yankees. Sacramento comes from 18 points down. They beat the Pistons 127-117, which, again, makes you start to wonder a little bit. This is a team that's going in the wrong direction at the wrong time. How much does it concern you? So we'll get to that coming up as well. Florida beats Houston 65-63 to win its third national title. The Gators down by 12 in this game, tied for the third largest comeback in finals history. Kansas in 2022, Loyola Chicago in 1963. The statistic associated with the University of Houston when allowing teams 70 points or fewer is mind-blowing until last night. We'll get to that as well. Red Wings consider their season is on the line tonight. They visit Montreal. The Habs have won 2 of the 3 meetings so far this season, and the first practice round at the 89th playing of the Masters suspended because of rain in Augusta, and we will talk a little bit about that, time permitting as well. Speaking of that, that is our poll question. Which of golf's majors is your favorite? Is it the Masters? Is it the British Open, or just the Open Championship, the U.S. Open, or the PGA Championship? Vote as often as you like at XB Mornings. We'll give you the results in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow. Stayed up, watched the game. These can be early mornings, but it's vital that you stay up and watch the entire game, and I'm glad I did because of just how eventful and suspenseful it was. Stayed up and watched, of course, the Pistons, watched the flipping back and forth between the 2 games overall, but you notice that the game pretty late, when all is said and done. And we're talking about a Monday night, we're talking about a school night the next night. I don't know if we should always take kids into consideration, but even a lot of adults, at some point you're like, okay, yeah, I get it if you're at the Alamo Dome. I get it if you're a Florida fan or a Houston fan, but if you're trying to keep other people and their interest and make sure that they're going to watch. I mean, are you doing that by starting and ending so late? Recent league title clinching games. The last game of the league's final contest, okay, ending at what time? Here it is. The National Football League, the Super Bowl, the game ended at 10:16. Not too bad. You still get a decent night's sleep. You can still talk about it. I mean, it might take a little while for you to clean up the house with a Super Bowl party. The NHL, the Stanley Cup Finals, 10:53. A little surprising there that it was almost 11 o'clock. The NBA's even later. The NBA, the clock struck 10:59 when all was said and done. It gets later yet. College football, the national championship game ended at 11:08. Last night, by the time Florida was ready to celebrate, the closeout by Walter Clayton Jr., and then the scramble for the basketball in which Florida corrals it, and then time expires By that time, it was 11:09. So just a minute later than when Ohio State celebrated a national championship in football. And lastly, Major League Baseball, the World Series, the final game in which the Dodgers clinched over the Yankees, the clock struck 11:51. Now, who are you playing these games for? Who is television playing the games for? You and I both know this, that the amount of commercial time, it's monotonous. It really is. I don't think networks care, okay? I don't know how much fans care anymore. And I don't want to sound like it's, me complaining constantly, because that's not necessarily true, and nor is it how I feel, because I enjoy watching it. I would not want to be there unless I was working. And I say that because as special as those moments are, I've been to Super Bowls, all right? I've been to NBA championship games. I've been to Stanley Cups. I've been to national championship games, and I've been to both at the collegiate level and the professional level, or I should say at the collegiate level in basketball and football. So I've been to both. So I've been to all of these. If you're working, it's great. I mean, you're preoccupied. You're constantly doing something. If you're calling the game, it flies by. But when you're there as a fan, if you and I are watching at home, you and I get a chance to surf. You and I get a chance to get up and go to the kitchen, do whatever it is, as you well know, and as you've done. I don't know how people sit through it for that long. It is getting to the point where it's almost, this is why so many people enjoy watching it at home, right? It's enjoyable at home with the big screen TV and the feel and so on and so forth. And there are now companies coming out. I don't know if you've seen this. There's one in Detroit. They're coming out with, you can go to a place and get the entire experience of what it's like to be at the arena. They have built that in. It's basically a theater, okay? And you feel everything. You are right there on the action. The incredible, I don't know if it's camera angles or whatever you want to call it. It is so close. You feel like you're there. But on the other hand, during those commercial breaks, you get an opportunity to get up, go someplace else, and it's not as monotonous. Last night, as enjoyable as that game was, and it was, I even though it wasn't high scoring, even though I don't think Houston plays a super entertaining style of basketball, last night I thought they were pretty entertaining, actually. Blocking shots, defending, so on and so forth. It's tough to get through. With the amount of commercial breaks and the amount of commercials, it is tough to get through, at least in some sports, and even college basketball, they've been doing this too. They've got that playthrough, like golf does. It's really hard. Anyway, kudos to Florida. We'll dive more into that as the morning wears on. And you're always welcome to share your thoughts on the Meyer Hotline, 866-838-4843. You can always text us, Sports Radio, to 21,000. Tigers with a really nice and impressive win over a really good offensive New York Yankees team. They're second in the league, second in all of baseball in runs scored going into the game yesterday. Only the Cubs, I believe, scored more. And the Cubs, with a big win yesterday as well, put up a lot of runs. But there's a guy who is starting to figure it out, and a guy I hope many people are noticing who could be a key to this team's success this year. We'll talk of Casey Mize and his strength and what he's done better this year already than he did in his previous few seasons. That's coming up here on X's and BrO's. Stay with us on a Tuesday morning. We're brought to you by our friends at Ferris Coffee. They're in Grand Rapids and available nationwide.
Huge here for my good friends, the Godfather, Ronnie and Drew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. They service the entire state, family-owned business. They've been in operation since 2015, and what they provide, custom golf carts, or you need a golf cart for your home, the lake house, business, an event, ATVs, UTVs, e-bikes, and also they have the best service team in Michigan when it comes to fixing your golf cart, your ATV, your UTV, and more. What you need to do is follow Impact Power Sports on Facebook and also stop by and see the Godfather and Drew at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. Go see the Godfather and Drew today at Impact Power Sports.
No sticks, no pucks, no goals, and no holds barred. It's Bare Knuckles Ice Walks, coming to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Saturday, June 14th. 900 square foot ice box, 90-second rounds, 2 combat fighters, and they're on skates. Bare Knuckles Ice Walks. Tickets starting at $50. On sale now at the box office or etix.com. History in the making. June 14th at Soaring Eagle. Doors at 6. Show at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Bare Knuckles Ice Walks. Who needs a pub?
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The huge show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
you never know what guy it's going to be. You're going to need multiple guys to do well, and it is nice, when not that we don't want it to be Riley or Carp or Torque, the guys who've carried the load the first 10 games, but it's, we have a deeper lineup when the bottom of the order does something positive.
AJ Hinch following his team's 6-2 win over the Yankees to extend the winning streak and to take game one of that series. I don't know what the measuring stick is for you. Everybody is different. I don't believe in early season collapses or early season great successes that automatically make me think this guy has arrived, this guy is fixed, this guy is broken, this team can't win, or this team can't lose. I don't know if people in San Francisco are like, hey, the Giants going into the game last night had the best record in the National League. The Rangers had the best record of the American League. By the way, they lost. But I don't believe in that when you're 11 games deep. You want to we all want to read into certain things that are taking place in sports. And it's really hard to do, okay, when it's early in a season. If a team is going well and you love that team, you want to make sure that you're on board. I want to make sure I'm one of those first people on that proverbial train and make sure that everybody knows it. So I think they've arrived. I have a tendency to be a little bit more diplomatic when it comes to these things. And I basically say, I'm going to wait. Now, I think you can look at games, but are you coming to conclusions about a team or a player? Case in point, Casey Mize. First of all, I respect the hell out of him because just like Spencer Torkelson, it was really hard to come back from what he had to go through. Not because of injuries or the lack of success. That's part of it, the combination for sure. Last year, he was left off the playoff roster. That's embarrassing. That's tough to handle. That's a tough pill to swallow when you're a 1-1. When you view yourself at Auburn, I'm going to be the ace of a staff. When people are telling you, watching you grow up in a system, telling you you're going to be the guy, suddenly the guy taken in the 9th round is the guy. The guy taken in the 9th round, it wins the Cy Young. The guy taken in the 9th round is the Triple Crown winner, and he's the one who's going to get the $40 million contract. And you're left wondering, am I going to get an option picked up? Am I going to be traded? Am I going to be waived? All those different things. And he's able to block that out and start on a good note. Now, people would tell you, let's see how he does against what you would consider, quote unquote, a real team. The Yankees offense is pretty damn good. I like the length of their lineup. Casey Mize, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 3 walks, 6 punchies, 88 pitches. Can he go deeper? Yes. Will he? That's up to AJ Hinch and Chris Fetter. I think there's plenty of opportunities. Look at what Justin Steele did yesterday for the Cubs. Look at how deep he went. He got through the lineup 3 times. That's pretty damn good, okay? Anyway, are you convinced? Should you be convinced? I would say no. I would be impressed with his first 2 starts. I'm very impressed with the fact, more than anything else, that here's a guy, and his splitter's really been good. I mean, it's been really impressive. That has been the key, I think, his ability to control the splitter. But when Casey Mize is out there and he's delivering, giving up just 1 earned run, okay, in 12 innings, 11 2/3 innings, and he struck out 12, that tells you that his stuff is working. And he looks at this. I love the quote that he gave. He goes, after the game yesterday, the hitters tell me how good my stuff is. The hitters tell me if my stuff is working. He's got control of his stuff, just about every single pitch. He's throwing it where he wants to. I don't have to tell you this. Oftentimes, when you're throwing out of the zone and batters are waving at it, that means and it's starting in the zone. That's the best sign you can possibly get. You don't have to throw strikes to get strikes. You don't have to throw it over the plate to get outs. He's got good enough control on all his stuff so far in the first couple of games to make you think perhaps he's turned the corner. I'm not going that far yet, but I do think it's really encouraging. Think of how it lengthens your lineup. Think of this. If I told you the Tigers would be 6-4, whatever. I mean, it's just like I said, 10 games. 6-4, and Tarek Skubal would be 0-2 with an ERA close to 6. How would you feel? Most people would feel pretty damn good, because you know that guy's going to turn around. That guy's going to come back, okay? He has earned your trust. It's the Brad Holmes effect. You trust what Brad Holmes is going to do for the upcoming draft. No question. He's proven himself before. You like what he's done. Don't judge last year. It's way too early to do that, okay? Especially with cornerbacks. But overall, you would give Brad Holmes a high passing grade. If you're anything lower than a B+ or an A-, I would be greatly surprised. Casey Mize so far has done a nice job, but Tarek Skubal has earned your trust based on what he did a year ago. I think that's fair to say. Most Tiger fans would feel that. All right. I don't think you can possibly be convinced that Casey Mize is here to stay. Just like I don't think you can be completely convinced that Spencer Torkelson is completely fixed. No more than the struggles that Colt Keith had batting average wise. On base percentage, he leads the team in on base percentage. But batting average wise, you would go, oh my gosh, this guy's in trouble, because he was batting like 176 going into the game yesterday. Why would you be overly concerned with that? As I've used before, and I will continue to use, Rafael Devers, I know it's a little different scenario because of what he's accomplished. Spencer Torkelson hasn't accomplished 3 All-Stars. Colt Keith hasn't accomplished 2 Silver Sluggers. And Casey Mize hasn't accomplished the types of things that Rafael Devers has done in his career. So I get it, okay? But he struggled mightily. I mean, it was epic. It was historical how bad he was. And then suddenly it starts to click a little bit. It's different for different players in different seasons. But the one thing I think you can take away is that he and Torkelson and others have figured out something early on that when they do struggle later on in the season, and it's going to happen, you know that, it's bound to happen. Casey Mize is going to run into a team that sees everything, and his stuff may not be moving the way it has before. I mean, Tarek Skubal did lose 4 games a year ago, all right? So understand, it's not going to be perfect. What he can do is reflect back on what has been working, the feel that he has, the location that he has, the study habits that he's creating. All those things players use as a benefit for them, not just in the moment, but later on in the season. Really important. So an outstanding job by Casey Mize and the Tigers, and a really strong win over a really good Yankees team. At least to start the year, a really good Yankees team. Phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text the show Sports Radio to 21,000. Plenty to discuss if you're up for it, that's for sure. There is something sad from Major League Baseball, and for one American League East team, but something very happy for another American League East squad. We'll get to that when we come back on X's and Bros on a Tuesday morning throughout the state of Michigan, brought to you by Ferris Coffee, the official coffee maker of the Detroit Lions.
He would cheer for my good friend Josh Garvey. Now he runs Dorn Mayhew's Grand Rapids office in downtown GR. They're one of the world's top accounting and CPA firms. Their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. If you're a business looking to work with professionals who will help you every step of the way, turn to Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew. Also, don't forget Dorn Mayhew brings you Coach Beeline and Josh every Tuesday, talking hoops on the huge show across Michigan.
Sumo, sushi, and sake. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Witness a thrilling sumo exhibition and enjoy a curated tasting of sushi, sake, and Asian-inspired cocktails. 2 premium VIP packages available, pricing as low as $59. Performance only. Full pricing options and details at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Experience sumo, sushi, and sake. 7 p.m. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
No, I mean, he did great. That was the plan coming in is, stay away and, throw the occasional in to keep him honest, and he did it. He threw some two seams into righties and, had some people get on and, we got out of it. That's just kind of what you want out of the pitcher, and he stayed away with all his spin and all his splitters are down. I mean, it's kind of what you want out of him, and he did great.
Jake Rogers, Casey Mize's battery mate from yesterday's game in which Casey Mize earns the win, and he's been really good to start the year in his first two starts. Has as many wins this year as he had all of last year already. Granted, only 20 starts last year, but still, 20 starts, only 2 victories. Remember, this is a guy who's only started a full season once in his career, and this is what I get from a lot of people. He's such a bust at 1-1 overall. I said, well, you understand he missed an entire season, 2023, with an injury. I said, the COVID thing, the COVID year, which turns out to be an absolute farce, but the COVID year really is a problem for a lot of younger players. Not everybody, but for some players and their development. And I don't think enough can be said about that. I'm not making excuses for him at all, because there are times you expected him to be much more impactful than what he's been, especially considering what he did in his college career. But I had somebody again say last night, I mean, hey, that's a Casey Mize 1-1 overall bust. It's a guy you shouldn't have drafted. And I said, okay, well, who would you have drafted? And the problem in baseball, and I've said this time and time again, is we don't know. I mean, you don't follow college baseball. Your lives are busy. You don't have the time. All right. You follow college football and college basketball. You want to channel surfing for college baseball. Not many people can give you one name from the same draft as Casey Mize in 2018. I can give you some, and you might go, oh, okay, this is who I would have taken. But overall, you saying I wouldn't have taken him is bullcrap, because you don't know who you would have taken. You don't know how good Joey Bart was at Georgia Tech. You don't know. You don't remember if Jared Kalenic was going to be good enough. Those are some. Logan Gilbert was drafted later in the draft in that draft class. Okay. Alec Boehm was the guy that, I looked at and I'm like, okay, I really like this guy because I watched him play at Wichita State. A few games, not a lot. I just liked what he did. And yes, there was a part of me that thought they could use a future third baseman. He's got power. The guy can hit. He can field and so on. So has he been great? Not necessarily, right? I don't know who from that draft class has been great. I suppose Logan Gilbert from a pitching standpoint. We all think the San Diego Padres do a lot of things right, don't we? I mean, they sign their guys early. They go out and they spend money. It's an organization that I think many people would strongly consider to be one of the better run organizations in baseball over the last 5 years or so. Is that fair to say? They go out, they trade Juan Soto, they sign Fernando Tatis Jr., they go and Trent Grisham was there for a little bit. Now he's with the Yankees. You go out and you spend money for Xander Bogaerts. They drafted Ryan Weathers in that draft. And he's got 10 wins in his career. Casey Mize has 11, I think, 11 or 12. So we just don't know. Nick Madrigal was probably the best hitter that year at Oregon State. And he's not a big guy. He's drafted by the White Sox. You thought he was going to be an on-base machine and a decent second baseman. Had no punch whatsoever and has not turned out to be a good draft pick at all. Okay. Jonathan India was rookie of the year. I think he played at Florida. How great has Jonathan India been? It's not making you forget Joe Morgan. So you got to be careful when it comes to that stuff, I think. But I will say that, when you draft a guy that high, the expectations are real, because we immediately associate with Paul Skeens. But there's time. Now, time is running out, and this year is a very big year for him. You would argue it's a very big year for a guy like Spencer Torkelson. Hell, you could say that about a lot of different Tigers.
Yep.
Guys are coming through. And Riley Green, you could argue it's a big year for him because you've got a chance to get that big contract. Get out in front of it if you're the Tigers. Now, I've said I would have done that by now. Many people have said he gets injured too much. I think that can be a fair argument. All right. Trevor Story got injured a lot. He got a big deal with the Boston Red Sox, had a pretty good track record prior to doing that. And there are plenty of guys who haven't been injured, but they haven't had the proven track record either.
But especially Shep, I mean, you've used the example where you can rip up the old contract and give him a new one. Just you might as well lock him in. I don't know why they haven't done it. I'm with you.
Yeah, I don't know why they haven't done it either. But either whatever the case is, in baseball, the beauty is because, and the tough thing is during the season, there are so many opportunities to turn things around, but it can go south so quickly on you. And how you respond to that, I think, makes you as good a player as when things are going really well. How do you get out of it? It is really challenging. And Casey Mize had a tough pill to swallow. I don't care who you are. You have a little bit of an ego. And the reason these guys reach their level is because of their competitive nature. Most, if not all, are type A personalities. They want to win at everything they do. I don't care if they're playing ping pong before a game. So there's a part of Casey Mize that as much as he's really happy for his friend Tarek Skubal, he's also looking out there going, you know what? I wish I was out there. I want to be that guy. I don't care who you are. I don't care what business you're in. I don't care if you're in sales and your best buddy is the number one salesperson and you're at number 4. You want to be that. I don't care if you're a producer and somebody's in front of the camera. You want to be that once in a while because you think there's something you can add to it. That's okay. That's good. That you want to be competitive. You should be really concerned if they're just like, no, I'm good. My dream was to be the number 4 starter. I'm good with that. Hell no. Alex Faedo was really close with Mize and Skubal and Manning. You think he wanted to come out of the flipping bullpen? Hell no. He wanted to start games. He wanted to be the impact guy just like those guys are. I think what he's been able to overcome so far, it's not this tale has not been written yet. It's not finished. It's 2 games for crying out loud. It's the same thing with players. I mean, we're talking about 40 at-bats. Don't get ahead of yourself. I know it's not sexy. I know it's not cool. I know you want to be the first one into the pool and saying, you know what? I don't know if you recall this, but on April 7th, I'm the one that said Casey Mize is back.
Remember when I said that?
I don't remember that. I don't. Does anybody remember who broke the news that Bobby Ross was the new head coach of the Detroit Lions? Anybody? No. Does anybody recall the breaking news when Sparky Anderson became the head coach and took Les Moss's place? No. Just take your time and you can analyze game by game. Cole Keith doesn't have very good hands. Does not have soft hands. I told you he was bad defensively. Okay? All right. That's something that you've recognized and what other people have told me anyway. And I worry about it. I think it's fair to say I am worried about this team's infield defense. Andy Ibanez has been pretty good at third at times. Javier Baez and Trey Sweeney at short. If Baez can get his throwing under control. Spencer Torkelson is good at first base. He's not great. Second base is weak. That's why they've got a hit. But that's based on Gleyber Torres' history and Cole Keith's history coming up through the minors. And when you have people who have signed him to deals and you have people who are rooting for him to be, a positive influence defensively on second base, admitting he's not the best defensive player, he's here for a different reason, then there's some flaws there and there's some validity to a belief that, yeah, he's not very good. Casey Mize has done it for 2 games. You're really happy. I'm happy. We hope it continues. We want it to continue because not only is he a good guy, but he is really important for this team moving forward. Health as much as anything else. You get that out of your 3rd starter, 4th starter, you'd be feeling pretty damn good. And really, he's your 4th starter. If you label guys with numbers, he's just a starter right now. I mean, Skubal, Flaherty, Olsen, Mize, Job. You feel like that could be a strength of this team because of what Flaherty did for the Tigers a year ago, and really what he's done before in his career, what Skubal did a year ago, the constant positive scouting report on Reese Olson, the movement and the scouting report that Jackson Job has received from people in the minors and early impressions in the majors too. And then the hope is that Casey Mize can solidify it if they can stay healthy. It'd be really nice. It is it's a really hard job. They get paid really well, but it's a really hard job. And Jarren Duran is a perfect example of it. He's a really good player for the Boston Red Sox. He was the All-Star MVP a year ago. He had put up big-time numbers league-wide for a younger player to come in and be able to bounce back from some struggling seasons. It was pretty impressive. What did he do? Well, last year, he led the league in plate appearances. He led the league in at-bats. That means he's playing on a regular basis. He played 160 games. He led the league in doubles. He led the league in triples. And as I mentioned, he was a first-time All-Star, and he was the MVP of the All-Star game. Kudos to him. How difficult has it been? I don't know if you saw this or not, but in a recent docuseries, The Clubhouse, a year with the Boston Red Sox, Duran said that he was having all kinds of mental health struggles. And it's a problem for young people today. And I feel so bad for them. And I really do. It's the amounts of, I don't even think it's pressure, but just the amount of influences that they are experiencing or have to experience today compared to when I was, in the 20s. It pales in it's nothing. What I had to deal with compared to it's nothing because of the social aspect of it. And it's really too bad there's people out there that just get their kicks out of trying to make other people miserable. It's awful. So I have this debate with my kids quite a bit when my kids say, the stress level of this and that. And my response oftentimes is, before you get into that, let me give you an example of what I think stress is. My father fudged his birth certificate at age 17 to fight in the war. Not to get out of it, to actually go to war. He was 17 when he had to be 18. He said, I'm going. So he joined the Navy. Think of that at age 17 instead of some mean post on social media. On the other hand, I also have to understand that, and why players do it. Like if I was a professional athlete, I wouldn't be on any social media. If you want to have your marketing team be on it to try and get you some commercials, to get you some, endorsements, fine. I wouldn't be on it because people out there are just flat out mean, nasty, and they don't understand. They don't know what it's like.
They're losers.
They really are. I mean,
if you're going to go out of your way to put someone down like that, you're a loser.
Climbing the ladder. Everybody's at your ankles trying to pull you down.
Yep.
Don't let them do that. It was great advice from Gibby. Anyway, Durant said, I was already hearing it from fans. Now, this is 21 and 22. This is when, and remember, this guy's a 7th round draft pick out of Cal State. All right. California State University. So a 7th round pick. How much was expected of him? Thought highly of, comes up in 2021 at age 24, struggles. First 2 years, he had 103 strikeouts in 91 games. So it wasn't great. And then in 2023, it started to click a little bit, which was great. But the first 2 years were painful. And he said, I was already hearing it from fans. And what they said to me, I've told myself 10 times worse in the mirror. That was a really tough time. I didn't want to be here anymore. He said, I got to a point where I was sitting in my room. I had my rifle and I had a bullet. And I pulled the trigger. And the gun clicked. But nothing happened. So to this day, I think God just didn't let me take my own life because I seriously don't know why it didn't go off. I took it as a sign. I might have to be here for a reason. So that's when I started to look myself in the mirror after the gun didn't go off. And I was like, do I want to be here or do I not want to be here? It happened for a reason. And obviously you're here for a reason. So let's be the way you want to be, play the way you want to play, and live the way you want to live. And it seems to have turned around. First of all, it takes a lot of bravery to admit that. Some people think it's weakness. I think it's brave. And it shows you just how challenging the world, but especially the world in baseball, can be when you're listening to fans. Remember, he's the guy in center field who gave up on a ball, and he was ridiculed nationwide. If you're listening to people behind a microphone, behind a camera who have never done it, and they are going off the deep end to try and get clicks, or you're reading articles about people who are wanting you cut because you're not good enough, or on social media where people get really brave behind a keyboard, then all you're doing, I think, is digging yourself a deeper hole into what can be a rabbit hole that you cannot get out of when it comes to feeling about yourself or your sport, your occupation. You have yourself, you have your family, and you have your baseball family. Those are the people you need to listen to. And I've had this conversation with young athletes before. Covering the Pistons on a regular basis, I remember going into their locker room, and you've got a grace period there where players get the opportunity to decompress. But I would go in and I would see Andre Drummond, for example, who I later became, we had good conversations. Early on, there's a little friction there because he just didn't trust people, and I don't blame him. I wouldn't trust members of the media either. But he was always on his phone. And you'd be sitting there waiting to talk to him, and he'd be scrolling through all the social media accounts that he has to see what people have said about him. And I remember saying to him one time, "Why do you do that?" And he said, "I just want to see what's up and see what's going on." I said, "But most of it's negative after a loss. Why would you want to put yourself through that?" And we had a little bit of a conversation with it. I think it's just habit. I don't think people cannot do it, unfortunately. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text the program Sports Radio to 21,000. This is X's and Bros on a Tuesday morning throughout the great state of Michigan. And we're brought to you by Ferris Coffee, available in 50 states across this great country of ours.
No sticks, no pucks, no goals, and no holds barred. It's Bare Knuckles Ice Walks, coming to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Saturday, June 14th. 1,900 square foot ice box, 90-second rounds, 2 combat fighters, and they're on skates. Bare Knuckles Ice Walks. Tickets starting at $50. On sale now at the box office or eatins.com. History in the making. June 14th at Soaring Eagle. Doors at 6. So that's at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Bare Knuckles Ice Walks. Who needs a pub?
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Coming right at you. The excitement you've been waiting for. Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile casino made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Play slots and table games with live dealers at one exciting site, playeagle.com. Sign up today and get a match deposit up to $1,500. That's right, up to $1,500 plus 100 free spins. Eagle Casino and Sports. Go to playeagle.com and start winning today. Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Saturday, July 26th, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Foreigner. Live at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort with special guests Loverboy and Night Ranger. Tickets start at $32 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series welcomes Foreigner with Loverboy and Night Ranger, July 26th. Showtime 7 p.m. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for Van Andel Institute Purple Community. Now, they're a grassroots fundraising network powered by the volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve health now and in the future. Learn more at purplecommunity.org.
Quick question for you. If you're going to get wrapped up in a player's early success, let's say I'm wrong, all right? Which has happened plenty of times. And I'm telling you, just pump the brakes, relax, enjoy what Casey Mize has done in 2 starts. But for me, I don't think he's fixed. Just yet. Doesn't mean he can't be.
Not enough of a sample size for you.
Same thing with Spencer Torkelson. And Trent, you know how I feel about Torkelson.
Yes.
I've tried to tell you all of last year and this year.
You tried to talk me off the ledge.
Yeah, just relax. I mean, things are going to happen. Guys have bad seasons. Guys have bad stretches. Doesn't mean you can't come back from it. I wouldn't give up on a 25. All that stuff. So if you believe that, is it fair to say you're buying into Javier Baez?
I think a lot of fans are. I don't know if it's fair or not. I don't know if it's
7 games.
Yeah.
He's batting .318, and he's only struck out 3 times.
My grandpa texted me about this yesterday, and I know you respect my grandpa's baseball knowledge. And he just simply said, I might have to change my tone on Javier Baez. If he's going to contribute like this at the plate, and he's going to play wherever they want to put him, whether it's shortstop or third, I might have to change my tone.
He says center field's his favorite position, for crying out loud. Look, I'm not going that far either, because it's 7 games. If you're going to, the reason I say this, the reason I plead with people about this is because if you're going to be this much in on a guy after 7 games or 10 games, what's going to happen when over a 7-game stretch, he goes 1 for 21?
Oh, people will rip him apart.
You'll be off. And then when he bounces back, you may be back on.
That's fandom.
But it's fandom. That's why you have to be very, very careful.
Got to be careful.
And it's okay it's all right for your grandfather to do that. That's his prerogative, for crying out loud. He's watched plenty of baseball. I would just caution him. Relax.
Oh, I think he's cautious. He's cautiously optimistic.
It's 7 games, but it doesn't mean that there's not going to be some challenging times ahead where you go, damn it, he suckered me in. No, you suckered yourself in. Let it play out for a little bit. For some guys, it's a little bit longer, right? It has to be a little bit longer because the track record is so glaring that you believe you know who that is. I would say every Tiger fan thinks they know who Javier Baez is not because of what he did with the Cubs or even that short stint with the Mets, but because of what he's done here. It is going to be really hard for him to shake that loose from you. And that's okay. I've said this forever. I read this article in the Free Press yesterday about Javier, or in the Detroit News. I'm sorry. Chris McCoskey wrote it. I want to give credit where credit is due. That Javier Baez is well liked. And I said that. I've said this for 2-3 years. Players like him. He's not a gregarious guy. He doesn't do a lot of talking. He keeps to himself. There was the reputation when he arrived from the Mets that he fit in well with the Mets, or he fit in well with the Cubs. Why did he fit in well? Because there were other players that you would go to on those teams before you would go to Javier Baez. It was okay to go to John Lester when you were with the Cubs, or an Eric Hosmer, right? I mean, was Eric Hosmer on that team? I can't remember if Eric Hosmer. Anyway, yes. There were a number of different players that the media would go to and they would talk about, all right? And Baez could kind of be off in the distance, get dressed, just go about his business and leave. Now, I noticed that players on the Tigers really liked him, but the media we were to him. Why? Well, obviously the contract, obviously the position, obviously the name associated, and because you figured he was going to be their best player. You didn't know about Riley Green yet. You didn't know about Spencer Torkelson yet. You didn't know about a lot of guys, but you did know that this guy put up some impressive numbers in the various stops he's been at, right? So that's where people gravitated.
And remember how his Tigers career started. I mean, Shep, you called it. His walk-off home run to start his Tigers career.
So when you see that and you recognize he is not that kind of guy. He doesn't want that type of attention early on in his Tigers career, and I don't think he wants it now. He's probably not been in his major league career, for crying out loud. He's been through a lot. I mean, personally, he's been through an awful lot. But that doesn't, that escapes people. That doesn't matter to them.
Well,
him being
sports,
a good teammate and him having players who really like playing with him doesn't matter to fans.
People are very quick to forget
production. That's what they want more than anything else. When you hear about, I want a guy who wants to be here, that's bullcrap. You want somebody who is going to perform. All you care about are numbers and wins. If you're associated with this team and they're a champion, you love them. If they're associated with the team and they don't win, you can't stand them and you feel it's time to turn the page. All right? Period. That's the way it is. Baez has not put up numbers. He's not been an integral part of a successful team. But players really like him. They respect him. He is a quiet, I wouldn't even call him a leader. But he's a quiet guy. And I think that's the misconception, that people feel like when you sign a guy for that kind of money and that type of commitment, the expectation is that they're going to be the leader. And for some people, it's just not in them. They may be a very good player. It doesn't mean that they're a very good leader.
But I can appreciate that because you can't always fake that, right? You can't always fake leadership.
No, absolutely not. But there are different ways to lead. And just because we don't see it on the field of play, where he's bringing people together and he's talking to guys in the dugout and so on and so forth.
Right. That doesn't mean he's not doing things behind closed doors.
It doesn't mean that he's doing things to help them in other ways. So I think there's a lot of guys who do go to him about certain situations, and he shares his knowledge. Really important. Again, I don't think fans care about that. Let me get to some text. You can text us Sports Radio to 21,000. What do we got here on a Tuesday morning?
Good fourth quarter last night. Houston just couldn't close the door. There were so many chances they should have pulled away when they went up 3 or 4 in the fourth quarter, but the Gators were resilient. Congrats to them.
Yeah, so men's college basketball plays in halves, not quarters. Women's basketball plays in quarters. So I think what the texture meant was good second half last night.
Or good end to the game, like last 10 minutes maybe.
Houston's problem was the turnovers in the second half. They only had a couple in the first half, and Houston ended up with 9 turnovers overall. So they had 7 in the second half. The game really, I think the difference in the game was at the free throw line. And I remember listening during the broadcast where the Gators had 5 quick fouls and Houston had 1. And it ended up being Houston was the team that got to 10 fouls first. And that's key because then you get 2 free throws instead of the 1 and 1. But I think the key was at the free throw line where Florida was 17 of 21 and Houston was 9 of 14. Will Richard was really good, while Walter Clayton Jr., who I think is a phenomenal player, he's going to be a hell of a pro, I think. He struggled. I mean, Houston clamped him down. He was still named most outstanding player because of what he's accomplished in the tournament overall. But it was really Will Richard, who had a team-high 18 points and 18 boards that kept him alive. Our phone number on the Meijer hotline is 866-838-4843. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Meijer on a Tuesday morning.
sumo, sushi, and sake. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Witness a thrilling sumo exhibition and enjoy a curated tasting of sushi, sake, and Asian-inspired cocktails. 2 premium VIP packages available, pricing as low as $59. Performance only. Full pricing options and details at SoaringEagleCasino.com. Experience sumo, sushi, and sake. 7 p.m. May 31st at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
as good as you may feel about the Tigers, and I get it, right? I mean, 6-4, we're leading the division. Yes, all this other stuff, the we, belief. My point has kind of been, okay, let's relax for a moment. I know that's hard to do. We are Trent and I were just talking. We're reactionary people. That's fine. But at some point, these guys are going to struggle. And for maybe a Tarek Skubal, it could be right now. I mean, if you're all in on Casey Mize, does that mean you're all out on Tarek Skubal? People would say no. He won the Cy Young and he won the Triple Crown, and he's considered the best pitcher in baseball, even though he hasn't necessarily been the best pitcher in baseball. He's been better than his numbers would indicate. But are you all out on that? Of course you're not. You're not overreacting to Tarek Skubal's 0-2 record. You shouldn't overreact to Casey Mize's 2-0 record. You shouldn't overreact to Cole Keith's offensive struggles, and you shouldn't overreact to Spencer Torkelson's really good season so far. But that's who we are, right? I mean, because we have such a strong rooting interest. We want them to be good, and we realize it's really important for them to be good in order for this team to have success.
Yeah, just because you shouldn't overreact doesn't mean that you're not going to do it.
Exactly.
Inevitably, as a human being.
Discipline to do that.
Right.
And let's face it, it's boring if you don't react. If you just sit back and go, I'm going to wait and see, then you're talking to somebody at a party and it's like, I'm just going to wait and see. Oh, okay. All right, have a good night. And then you're going to go over here. I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean,
yeah, I'm going to wait 140 games before I form any
no
opinions.
One's suggesting that, even though we will fall back to Sparky Anderson's, give me 60 games. Let's see. I think it's okay to at least ask for 150 ABs for a batter. They're going to have 600 if they're a starter. You're asking for 150, okay? That's still a small sample size. You're going to get, hopefully, if you're healthy, 30 starts. Let's say 30 starts. You're going to judge a guy on 2? I'm just not going to do that. I'm not telling you can't or shouldn't. I'm just saying I'm not going to do that. I think it's pointless, quite honestly.
Well, you don't want to set yourself up that way.
I'm not even talking about setting myself up. I'm talking about from an intelligence standpoint.
Right.
It makes no sense to judge somebody who's going to have 30 starts and judge them on 2 days. You've got a 30-day contract to do your job. The first 2 days, I'm going to judge you? I hope not, because you're still in the learning phase. Now, you could say, these guys have learned for 5 years, Shep. Give me a break. No, there are still things they're perfecting. They're constantly learning. We're all constantly learning, I would hope. So I'm not going to do that, but I understand why some people do. And that's okay. I'm not judging you. I'll judge you on other things, but I'm not going to judge you on that. I think it's really important to keep it all in perspective. What I like most is that, specifically with those two individuals, as I mentioned, Mize and Torkelson, when those guys find some failure this year, and it's bound to happen, the greatest players found it during a season and had to dig themselves out of it. What they have already experienced will allow them, because they got through that, will allow them to get through it again. And I think that's really important. So when Spencer Torkelson goes in a little bit of a slump, bound to happen. Aaron Judge went through a slump, okay? There are things that happen.
Yeah, I like how you said when, not if.
Yeah.
When it happens.
When it happens, he's going to be able to say, you know what? I got through this thing, this, and this. I'm going to fall back to certain things that when I was successful, I'm going to continue. I'm going to go back to those things because I have found myself being a little bit out of sorts. Same thing with Casey Mize. Okay. As happy as you may be with the Tigers, you should be equally as upset with the Pistons. And I know how people are talking about the Pistons these days. It's the greatest turnaround in NBA history. 14 wins a year ago, and they have tripled their win total from last year. They've made the playoffs for the first time in 6 years. I'll fall back to my common phrase, and that is expectations change. They've lost 4 of 5. Did you really think, and they're not catching Indiana. They're not. Unfortunately, they're not catching Indiana. I know I probably was one of the few people who thought they had a legitimate chance at getting the 4 seed. They were within a game of Indiana for the 4 seed, I believe, maybe no more than 2 games out at one point over the last couple of weeks. Now, Detroit sits 4.5 back of the Pacers for the 4 seed. So it's not happening. They're either the 5 or the 6 seed. And I think you should be upset about it. They're 1.5 back of Milwaukee. I think you should be upset about it. This is a team that had an opportunity to do something better than just settle for the 6 seed. It's a team that could have easily gotten the 4 seed had they played the way they played, as desperately as they played, in order to get there in the first place. And how they lost their way doesn't mean that they're not going to win a playoff game, doesn't mean they can't win a series. But right now, this team is not playing as good a basketball as it was before. Look at what Sacramento did to them last night. Look at what Zach LaVine did to them last night. Look at what DeMar DeRozan did to them last night. Look at what Domantas Sabonis did to them last night, while everybody else was watching Cade Cunningham pump in 33 or 35 and do what? Nothing. It's okay to be mad at your favorite team, even though they have surpassed your before season expectations into what they are now. Better fix it. And you get Milwaukee a couple of times, I get it. You got the Knicks coming up, I get it. Things can change quickly. But as of right now, losing 4 of their last 5, missing the chance to catch Indiana, who has continued to play really good basketball. As we mentioned yesterday, they've won 4 in a row. They've won 8 out of 10. They've solidified themselves as a number 4 seed. They're a team that if you're another team in the East, there's not many teams that want to play them. I get that Cleveland and Boston are probably the high bar.
They're 1 and 2.
Conference. Yeah. They're not just 1 and 2 in the standings, but they're 1 and 2 because of what they have proven so far this year. Even though Cleveland has gone through a tough stretch, and Sacramento just beat them 2 nights ago. It's a hell of a back-to-back for Sacramento. They go into Cleveland and win, and then they go into Detroit and win. Those are impressive wins for Sacramento. I've never been one of those people who says, I'm taking it away from that team. That team's not that good. No, look, every single night, there's a reason those guys are at the elite level. They're at the highest level of the game of basketball in the NBA. It's not like Sacramento can't play. Would you take some of those guys? Would you take Zach LaVine on your team? Shooting-wise, absolutely.
But you're exactly right about the Pistons. It's like, in the big picture, you can be happy with what the team has done this season and still accept the fact that they're playing the worst basketball at the worst time. You know, that can be concerning to you. It's okay.
Yeah, I can't recall if there was a time this year where we thought they were playing worse. If you say they're playing the worst basketball of the season at the worst time,
maybe that's dramatic, but I'm just saying.
It might be a little dramatic. But look, I mean, when they lost 4 out of 5, I think it's fair to say it's concerning. But people aren't going to go there. Why? Because it's okay.
They tripled their win total.
Given us something that we didn't expect. We were hoping that they would win 30 games, and they've got 43 wins. We were hoping they could get somehow maybe a play-in game, and they're solidified as a playoff team. They've given us a lot of joy during this winter where we've needed it because we were hurting from a Lions upset. Folks, don't tell me that your expectation for this team in the playoffs is one and done.
Hasn't completely shifted, right?
It's completely shifted.
As it should.
Rightfully so. And if that's the case, if you can admit that to yourself, then you have to be able to admit that losing 4 out of their last 5 has been a disappointment. Quick timeout. Back with more on X's and Bros, brought to you by Meyer after this.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with M-Perks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in M-Perks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Okay, 35 after the hour. Welcome back. College basketball season is over. I know a lot of people were disappointed because Kelvin Sampson didn't get his first championship. Houston didn't get its first championship. Kelvin Sampson would have been the oldest head coach to win a national championship at the age of 69. Instead, it was Florida winning last night in, ironically enough, a defensive stand down the stretch against the best defensive team in the country. 65-63 was the final. They were down by as many as 12, was Florida. And it's the third largest comeback win in national championship finals history. Only Kansas in 2022 and Loyola Chicago in 1963 with bigger deficits. They end the year with 12 straight wins. They were 5-0 against AP top 5 teams. Houston 0-3 now in national title games. First loss this year when allowing 70 points or fewer. Houston was 33-0 or 33-0 when allowing teams under 70 points this season. First time that they get that streak broken is at the biggest game of the year in a 65-63 final. Last year and the year before, Dan Hurley and UConn were champions, as we all know. And Dan Hurley took some heat earlier this year because as he was leaving the floor in losing in the Sweet 16, he was yelling to Baylor players and coaches. I don't even know if he was yelling, but he was saying it loud enough, saying, I hope the refs don't blank you like they just blanked us. Now, Trent's friend, who he went to school with, actually was there. He was a reporter in the bowels of the arena, and he heard it. And he might have been the one who posted it, actually. I think he was. Anyway, Dan Hurley was and is viewed as should be viewed as a really good basketball coach because he is. I'm sorry. You don't win 2 national championships. You don't get the contract extension that he got. You don't flirt with the NBA, specifically the Los Angeles Lakers, if people don't think you know what the hell you're doing. So you can dislike him all you want. You can think about the attitude and suggest you wouldn't want your kid playing for him, but he's accomplished a great deal already in his college coaching career. And it's not just at UConn either, by the way. But from a personality standpoint and a personal standpoint, he's viewed as a jackass by most. He understands that because it's been more than one incident, right? There becomes a pattern here. He was on a podcast the other day, and to say he's making excuses might be a little bit of a stretch. He was explaining, though, how people perceive him, how he comes across. This is what he had to say about those who don't buy into his type of personality, his type of coaching, his type of emotion. We all get emotional. All of us do. All right. It's fair. This is human nature. You don't want to be a robot. You don't want to just walk around and think nothing affects you at all. That's not normal. But sometimes you look toward leaders and you want to see how they handle situations. I remember a coach once told me when I asked him, how can you stay so calm in that type of situation? He asked me this question. When there's a fire and you have to follow somebody out, are you following the person who's panicking and going crazy and screaming and jumping around? Or are you following the calm, cool, collected person? Most people would say the latter. I think that's fair. So you wonder when you look at a guy like Danny Hurley, who is never sitting down and constantly up and down the floor, the sideline, screaming and pleading for calls. I know it gets a little old, but I always harken back to when Michigan fans used to tell me Tommy Amaker shows no emotion. And I know you can't have it one way or the other. And I used to tell them all the time, that's not necessarily true because you're only watching him when the cameras are on. I doubt. And when you're at the game, you're watching the floor. Rarely are you watching the coach, unless you hear him. But maybe in a certain situation, you might be watching the coach. Danny Hurley makes sure you watch him because he's constantly up and down. Here's what he had to say about those of us who might think he's a little bit over the top in that regard.
I'm from Jersey, like when you're from like North Jersey, like New York, I don't think it's as like offensive to people like outside of that area, like people in the Northeast. I think they understand me more that way. I think there are people though that like live in the Midwest, or maybe if they're from like, parts of the West Coast, that they just don't understand human beings like me, that we could get, as intense or as emotionally charged, or you could put as much of yourself into a competitive endeavor and then take the results as badly.
Really good coach, pretty stupid human being. just an asinine thing to say.
Man.
Like people in the Midwest, there's nobody in the Midwest.
He singled out the Midwest.
Intense about what they're trying to accomplish. I mean, can we use the number of examples?
Dan Campbell.
I mean, but Dan Campbell's not from the Midwest. He's talking about where you're from. Just because Dan Campbell coaches in Detroit doesn't mean he's from Detroit.
Yeah, I got you.
He's from Texas, okay?
Right.
He's talking about Midwest people who strive and are emotional to be great. Roger Penske, for example. Isaiah Thomas is from the Midwest. Do you not think he was emotional? Do you not think he was intense? Are you that much of a moron to think that? Aiden Hutchinson, like if you want to talk about the lines, you don't think Aiden Hutchinson's intense? You don't think he strives for greatness? Just because you're not a jackass doesn't mean that you can't be from the Midwest and have that intense belief and strong desire to win at everything you want to win at. The great Tommy Hearns is from Detroit, is he not? I think he was pretty intense.
Floyd Mayweather's from Grand Rapids.
There, okay, I think there are players, whether it be Jalen Rose, Mateen Cleaves, Morris Peterson, we can go on and on, who are from the Midwest and had a strong, strong desire to be intense and win. Just because you don't act like a complete jackass doesn't mean that you aren't intense. The fact that, I'm from Jersey, and we're so tough in Jersey that in order for you to really appreciate just how intense and tough and the desire that I have to win, you gotta be from Jersey or New York. This holier than thou bullcrap, doesn't that make you sick to your stomach, honestly?
Yeah, apparently you can only be confident and brash if you're from the East Coast.
The only people who are going to accept me are the people from South Jersey. Okay? I just want you to know. I want my bagel at the deli. Okay? Let me tell you about what people from Jersey do. All right?
I do think Danny Hurley kind of forgot how to lose.
New York. We are the people who give you the attitude that nobody else can duplicate. Don't come to me with Boston. Don't come to me about Philadelphia. And don't come to me from the Midwest because you can't relate. Because this is who we are. We're the tough guys. We're the ones who speak the truth, not you guys. You can't handle the truth. Thank you, Jack Nichols.
You think Danny Hurley forgot how to lose, Shep? Last 2 years, 2.5 years?
I don't think he can. He just can't help from being a complete jackass.
Sure.
He just can't help it. And if that's the identity of South Jersey, then so be it. But don't feed me this bullcrap line that people from the Midwest can't relate to me and my intensity and my emotion because they're not from where I'm from. I guess the people in the Midwest shouldn't expect Dan Hurley to be compassionate ever, because people in the Midwest generally, I'm painting people with a broad brush, are. Hey, Dan, just out of curiosity, if you ever drive down the Lodge in rush hour, I think you'll find out just how passionate and intense people can be.
Yep.
You're supposed to go 50-55. People traditionally 85-90.
And if you're not going 70, you're getting
beat dead,
honked at.
So stop with this bull crap. I would have. I wish I was on that desk. Oh, timeout. Hold on. I would have said, timeout, Dan. Are you trying to tell me that the only people who can relate to you and understand you are the people from South Jersey and New York? Is that it? The people in the Midwest can't adjust, adapt. They can't have that type of passion, that type of emotion, that type of intensity. You can't be that stupid, right?
I mean, if that's what he believes, that's truly sad.
I'd love to know. I'd love to know what has happened that makes him believe that in the first place. Is he looking at his Twitter feed and noticing every single person who thinks he's a complete jackass?
It's from Des Moines, Iowa,
the Midwest. That's hilarious.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Like, what even put that thought in his head?
Yeah. Cooper DeJean, he's not intense at all. Has to be to play cornerback. I mean, what a stupid blanket statement that is. Had to play that for you because he's a guy who just doesn't seem to get it. You know, there are coaches. I hear coaches all the time say, he just doesn't get it. I see. Okay. Apparently, this is exactly just that. Just that. I mean, this is a guy who's won back-to-back titles, flirted with the NBA, famous in basketball, father, excellent coach, brother, excellent player, and to a certain extent coach. But the inability to be self-aware is crazy. I mean, he told Dan Patrick, he said, I have enough self-awareness and situational awareness that I skipped San Antonio. I decided not to parade myself around the Final Four to take a break, to let people have a little bit of a break from me. The maturity. Right? He says, when you're winning championships, it's called relentlessness. I've been called relentless the last 2 years, even though I've been experiencing the same types of interactions with fans and officials. This year, it's been called immature. It's been called a lot of things because, my team isn't on top. I haven't changed a whole lot that way. It's pretty funny. There are certain coaches, for certain reasons, who would never be able to coach in the NBA. And I've said that unless they changed. And I think it's really hard for coaches to change because they get to a certain point in their careers where they have sustained such an incredible success that how would you not fall back to being that type of person?
Yeah, and if that works for you.
Tom Izzo has built, 30 years becoming one of the greatest coaches of his generation, one of the greatest coaches in college basketball history for who he is, the intensity that he shows. Why would you want him to be anybody else? If he went to the NBA, and there was a time where people believed that Dan Gilbert, owner of the Cleveland Cavaliers, wanted Tom Izzo to come on board, and Tom Izzo thought better of it. And I'm glad he did because that does not work at that level. I've said this before. In college basketball, you as a coach are just a means to an end for a player. You happen to stand in the way of reaching their ultimate goal. So, of course, they're going to listen to you. Maybe as a rookie who was a second-round pick, a late first-round pick, not necessarily a star right away, you feel the same way about your coach in the NBA. But once you reach a certain standard, it is the player who is most dominant. It is the player who handles. You have to be able to oblige. Tom Izzo was never going to be that guy. And you wouldn't want him to be. All right. So if you're an owner, as much as you love the way he coaches and the results, and you love how players advance in their college careers, you realize that would wear out NBA players and wear them out fast. And people will immediately say to me, well, that's not the way Beeline was. No, but here's the difference. He's a film hog. I've never seen a person digest as much film as him. It's constant. And the coaching of fundamentals and the use of video to try and help just would not work. And it was evident on the very first day of practice in Cleveland. Trust me when I tell you that. Evident right away. Danny Hurley would never have worked out with the Los Angeles Lakers. Because while he's stomping up and down the sidelines, showing the emotion that so many people want to see out of their coach, LeBron James, now Luka Doncic, and just about anybody else would be like, dude, sit down, relax.
LeBron James from the Midwest, Luka Doncic from overseas. They're not from Jersey, so they wouldn't get it.
Exactly. LeBron James could never understand where Danny Hurley's coming from. That's why Danny Hurley turned it down. I don't know if you know that. See, Danny Hurley's from Jersey. LeBron James is from Akron, Ohio. He's a Midwest guy. LeBron James can't relate to Danny Hurley. How are you going to relate to a guy who's from South Jersey if you're from Akron, Ohio? I mean, can we be real here?
You can't,
it takes
Shep.
a special person. Trent, I don't know if you knew this. It takes a really special person to relate to somebody from South Jersey or from New York because we're Billy Badass. We do everything big. We're the tough guys. We ask the tough questions, and we are the attitude. And if you can't deal with that, then you can get out. So there's no way LeBron James is going to be able to deal with that. And Danny Hurley doesn't want to be around guys like that. Why would you? Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can text the program, Sports Radio, to 21,000. When we come back, we've got our daily wager brought to you by Soaring Eagle. We've got the results from yesterday's poll question. And I think a pretty interesting nugget from ESPN. This is creativity. What teams would have had to give up for Luka Doncic? People are failing to understand what Dallas was doing, and I get it. Would you have done it if this trade package was required? We'll get to that when we come back. This hour has been brought to you by our friends at Meyer.
Saturday, July 26th, Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Foreigner. Live at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort with special guests Loverboy and Night Ranger. Tickets start at $32 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series welcomes Foreigner with Loverboy and Night Ranger, July 26th. Showtime 7 p.m. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. And if you missed any of today's show, be sure to check out our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you find your podcasts to find the greatest hits from every day's show.
In the den. Step up to the plate with Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play.
Two players you should appreciate early in the Tigers season, Casey Mize and Spencer Torkelson. Both won ones and both have been questioned and I would say abandoned by the Tigers fan base. I'm not asking you to appreciate both because of their early season success, but because of their strong mental fortitude. Torkelson was forced to Toledo last year for 58 games where he struggled. He lost his position to a second-year player and had to earn his roster spot this year. Mize was left off the playoff roster last season and was told he had to earn a spot in the starting rotation this year. Both have done what they needed to do, and they are key reasons for a nice Tigers start to the season.
There's a new player in town. Hi, I'm Herman Moore, Lions All-Pro wide receiver, and I'm talking about Eagle Casino and Sports, the real money mobile casino. It's so easy to play. You can go from wager to winner to wallet, just like that.
Sign up now and we'll match your deposit up to $1,500. Or you can get a risk-free bet up to $1,000.
Eagle Casino and Sports, made in Michigan, made for Michigan.
Must be 21 or older and in Michigan to play.
Hear that? That's the sound of saving a good deal more when you shop with MPerks at Meijer. Some delicious blueberries, money saved. A creamy treat of cookie dough ice cream, that's money saved. Savings, savings, savings. Because every dollar spent is also 10 points earned in MPerks, which you can use to save on your next grocery trip or up to $1 off per gallon on your next tank of gas. At Meijer, we work hard to help you save a good deal more for a whole lot less. That's bringing more good to life. Exclusions apply. See mperks.com for details.
Hey, Michigan fans, did you know that your favorite craft brewery is also a proud supporter of Michigan athletics? That's right. Founders Brewing Company has been brewing up high-quality, highly rated beers like All Day IPA, Michigan Pilsner, and their new Mortal Bloom right here in Michigan for over 25 years. As a proud supporter of Michigan athletics, they're here to help you celebrate every Wolverine win with the perfect beer in hand. Whether you're at the game, tailgating, or watching from home, there's nothing like enjoying a Michigan-made beer from Founders. Learn more at foundersbrewing.com.
When you punch us back, we're going to smile at you. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off.
Home run! Home run! He hit it a mile! Let's give them the keys to the Hall of Fame, but not tonight. Tonight they are the Stanley Cup. Steve Eiserman, come get it.
It feels like heaven must be lying. I got one question for you, Michigan Nation. Who's got it better than us?
Right center field. That's got carry. It's gone. Number 500 and history for Miguel Cabrera.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes. This game is over! They score! Red Wings win. Detroit basketball!
Yeah, Detroit basketball loser last night against Sacramento. Apparently, Danny Hurley would tell you that the reason they lost is they didn't have enough guys from New York. That's the difference. Okay, you need more guys from South Jersey. It's a big reason why Houston didn't win a championship instead of it was Florida. But it's really good. It's really, really good that there are teams out there with a lot of New Yorkers that have a tendency to, wear their heart on their sleeve, play with the edge, having an attitude, if you will, and a lane from Seinfeld.
Because that's the only part of the country
That's the only part. When are you going to realize? I don't care if you're a football player in Texas or Florida. You're not going to be successful, Trent, unless you're from South Jersey. Do you understand me? I don't care if you're a talk show host from Detroit. You've got to be from New York to show attitude, knowledge, passion, and energy. Period. And if you're not, turn the channel. Danny Hurley's world, you're just living in it. I wish you would do a better job of trying to understand just who he is and why you have such an attitude about a guy who says, I hope you don't get blanked like we just got blanked. Oh, I'm sorry. That sounds like an excuse in the Midwest. Now, in South Jersey and New York, it sounds like a reason because everybody's out to get me. I know I won 2 championships the previous 2 years and I wasn't complaining about it. But yes, people in the Midwest use it as an excuse. They're wrong again. The people out east, they know me. They know me. They know damn well.
I don't know how you can screw this up so bad. Like, everyone gave you credit. You won back-to-back championships. Everyone liked you a year ago, and now you've just become so unlikable.
But his point is that he's the same person. So if you liked him last year,
and you should like him now.
I don't think everybody liked him. But if everybody liked him last year and he's the same person, why wouldn't you like him this year? That's his point.
Yeah.
I disagree with that.
Whatever.
I don't think everybody liked him. People really liked and continue to like Luka Doncic, and for good reason. I mean, how do you not like a guy who scores like he does? There was a recent article revealing that Mark Cuban was unaware. He's the minority owner, so he doesn't need to approve the trades. He wouldn't do it, but he was basically told, listen, this is what we're doing. We're doing Luka Doncic to Dallas, and you know what the return was. It was kind of laughable. Not that it was Anthony Davis. It's just that you would have thought you could have gotten more. So ESPN went out, and they did a deep dive and thought, this is what each team, if they wanted to get in on the Luka Doncic trade, this is what each team would have had to have given up. I don't care what Golden State would have had to give up, okay? I care about what the Pistons would have been forced to give up, according to ESPN. Here's what they could have offered, in their words. And I want you to think about whether or not you would do this. My answer might surprise you. They could have offered Tobias Harris, Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, and 2 unprotected first-round picks. Here's what they write. The trade for Doncic solidified the Pistons as a top 6 team in the East this year and next, but does it move them closer to Cleveland, Boston, and New York? I don't think they're that far from New York. Danny Hurley does, but I don't think they're real far from New York. The Pistons take a hit with their depth, but have Doncic paired with Cunningham in the backcourt. would that partnership of young guards paired with Coach of the Year candidate J.B. Bickerstaff have been enough for Doncic to consider signing? And that's the key. The key is, would he have signed? And I don't doubt that Detroit would pay him, which is interesting. It's a completely different topic. But, I mean, Tom Gores was willing to spend money. Chris Ilitch isn't. But people are okay with that. I wouldn't say they're okay with it. People almost overlook that. But Tom Gores is, ridiculed constantly because of poor decisions, and rightfully so. But he does spend money. Case in point, Cade Cunningham. He would have spent the money. Would Doncic have re-signed here, knowing that Cunningham is going to be the face of this team for a long time? Would you have done a deal like ESPN is proposing? The Tobias Harris thing. I like Tobias Harris. Don't get me wrong. I liked him at Tennessee. I liked him in his first go-around with the Pistons. I wasn't crazy about the signing, to be honest with you. I wasn't, because I thought, especially in Philadelphia, thought he kind of disappeared in the postseason. Then I thought to myself, why do I care about the postseason? They got to get there first. If he can help this team move the ball forward, then you should be happy with it. So I wasn't too keen on it. Asar Thompson, I think, has grown into a very good player. You've got to be able to do more than play defense, and he does that. Ron Holland seems to be a guy who you could see him progressing. He's a young player. I'm not giving up on him. Why would I give up on him? I don't think he's untouchable like some people, but I sure as hell wouldn't give up on a 20-year-old, 21-year-old. If I'm going to say that about Torkelson, I'm going to say that about Jalen Duren. Why would I say that about Ron Holland? I think there are a lot of positive attributes he brings to the team. You have to have depth in the NBA, and you got to be willing to play defense. Now, Luka Doncic's first 12 games in LA, their defensive numbers have actually got better. I don't know if that's him or if it's everybody around him being more conscious of, this guy's a sieve on defense, so we better heighten our defensive awareness. That could be it too, But either way, the numbers didn't lie. He's an incredible scorer. He's a really gifted offensive player. I mean, he's, I'm not saying he's the Alexander Ovechkin of the NBA, because he's not, but he can score. Ovechkin's an unbelievable scorer. You know that. He's the greatest goal scorer in the history of the league. It's evident. Doesn't make him the best player. If I had to take Alexander Ovechkin or Sidney Crosby, I'd take Sidney Crosby every single day and twice on Sunday.
Well, it's like LeBron scored the most points in NBA history, and you would take Jordan over LeBron, which a lot of people would.
Yeah, but these guys are playing in the same era. That's a little different. I always, I know that's who he's compared to, and I get it. I would take more than just Michael Jordan. I'd take Kobe Bryant over LeBron James too. I think LeBron James, I don't want to get into that stuff, but I think there's his softness at times, it just bothers the hell out of me. And the other two guys were as challenging as you ever get.
He's not from the East Coast.
They're Danny Hurley guys. But anyway, when you look at Ovechkin and Crosby, I think Crosby is the better overall player. All right. But Ovechkin's an incredible gifted scorer. Luka Doncic is an incredibly gifted scorer. I would like players who can play at both ends. Would you have done a deal like this? The 2 first-rounders, who cares? Tobias Harris, a little longer. It's really about the 2 young guys, Asar Thompson and Ron Holland. And even though I believe in defense, I would have done it in a second, an absolute second. And I would guess you would too. And if you're not, I'd love to know what holds you back. It's a futile exercise because it can't be done. But I do think it's an interesting position on the article, and I enjoyed reading it. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. The text is Sports Radio 21000. We do have the final results from yesterday's poll question. Want to get to the daily wager and plenty more discussion. Especially, let's dive into some football when we come back regarding the Lions and some possible trade, or I should say, draft scenarios, and what the NFL might be doing based on what the Lions' recommendation is on a possible rule change. That's coming up on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
Huge here for my good friends, the Godfather, Ronnie and Drew at Impact Power Sports. Now, they're located on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. They service the entire state, family-owned business. They've been in operation since 2015, and what they provide, custom golf carts, or you need a golf cart for your home, the lake house, business, an event, ATVs, UTVs, e-bikes, and also they have the best service team in Michigan when it comes to fixing your golf cart, your ATV, your UTV, and more. What you need to do is follow Impact Power Sports on Facebook and also stop by and see the Godfather and Drew at Impact Power Sports on 14 Mile Road in Rockford, just north of GR. Go see the Godfather and Drew today at Impact Power Sports.
In the den. Step up to the plate with Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play. Two players you should appreciate early in the Tigers season, Casey Mize and Spencer Torkelson. Both won ones and both have been questioned and I would say abandoned by the Tigers fan base. I'm not asking you to appreciate both because of their early season success, but because of their strong mental fortitude. Torkelson was forced to Toledo last year for 58 games where he struggled. He lost his position to a second-year player and had to earn his roster spot this year. Mize was left off the playoff roster last season and was told he had to earn a spot in the starting rotation this year. Both have done what they needed to do, and they are key reasons for a nice Tigers start to the season.
Thanks for listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
The NFL is always tinkering, aren't they? Every league is. You're trying to make it as good as possible. You're trying to make it the absolute best. And I know that's difficult to do. The NFL might change their playoff format. They're considering what the Lions' recommendation was. The Lions are suggesting that they change the playoff seeding. There are, according to CBSSports.com, 3 options that owners and the league in general will consider. And I'm wondering if anybody has a thought on which they feel would be best. You can call us on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. The Lions proposal, I'm sure you already know this, but 7 teams in each conference still consist of the playoff situation. 4 division champions, 3 wildcard teams. You're not getting away from that, right? No way you're changing that. The big change really is how you seed them, where they are. And the Lions' suggestion is, and I think it's a legitimate one, I'm surprised it hasn't been suggested and implemented already. You go by best record. I suppose the negative to that, the naysayers would say, you're not playing a balanced schedule. It's too tough to do that. If you're playing in the most difficult division and you've got to play those teams, and look, the NFC North was the best division, regular season now, best division in football. When you had the Lions and the Packers and the Vikings, we thought the Bears might be pretty good. When they started 4-2, there were all kinds of articles. Can you imagine if every team made the playoff? No, they're not going to make the playoffs. All right. But they looked like the most competitive division. I think it stayed that way. Detroit and Minnesota really good. Minnesota got hosed based on the playoff format and how you're seeding. Okay. So what the Lions are suggesting is you go by best record. Wild card team could be seated ahead of a division winner if the wild card team had a better record. This is what it would have looked like in 2024 had the Lions proposal been adopted. Lions number 1, Eagles number 2, Buccaneers number 3, Rams number 4, Vikings. That's what it was, okay, because they were all division winners. Then you had the Vikings as a wild card, the 5, Commanders as a wild card, 6, Packers as 7. Under the Lions proposal, it would have been Lions, Eagles, stays the same. Vikings wouldn't be a 5. They would be a 3. Commanders would not have been the 6. They would have been the 4. The Packers wouldn't have been a 7. They would have been a 5. The Buccaneers wouldn't have been a 3. They would have been a 6. And the Rams would not have been the 4. They would have been the 7. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is they approve a modified version of the Lions proposal. Not every team's going to agree on a change. So the rule here is they're hoping what the Lions, that you kind of combine it to a certain extent. Under the rule, the playoff format would be similar to what it is right now, with one big exception, and that is the division winners would still get to host a playoff game unless they finished below 500. That was not the case, obviously, last year. And lastly, they would just keep the current playoff format. Do you like the current playoff format in the National Football League? Or do you understand where the Lions are coming from? And would you suggest the Lions proposal be implemented?
I do like the idea of not rewarding a team that wins 9 or 8 games just because they won their division. They get to host a playoff game. You know what I mean? I like that idea.
There is no proposal where if a team wins 9 games or 17 games.
No, I get that. I'm using that as an example.
I'm talking about under 500.
The NFC South has been kind of the punching bag for this for years. Right. And what I'm saying is the Vikings, who won 14 games last year and just happened to be in the Lions division, I think more than earned the right to host a playoff game.
Okay, so you're saying you want the Lions proposal?
Yes.
Okay. So I agree too. And it'll be interesting. They're going to go to 18 games. We all know that. All right. You'll go to 18 games and 2 preseason games. The NFL doesn't care about the preseason. They care about the regular season. They sure don't care about the players either. So they're going to go to 18 regular season games. So if you're 500, if you're 9-9, and you happen to win your division, NFC South, whatever, then you would still host a playoff game under 2 of the proposals.
Because you're
the only proposal where you're not going to get that is the Lions proposal. And I'm glad the Lions brought this to the league's attention. For some reason, I think that's been done before. I can't recall who or when, but I thought it was done before. But this seems more logical to me. Unless you feel like the imbalanced schedule, the unbalanced schedule is not fair enough. What if you're playing in a really weak division and you're taking care of business and you've got those wins, 2 against Minnesota, 2 against Green Bay, 2 against Chicago, 6 automatics. Rarely do you find that, but Detroit did go undefeated against their division. They were 6-0 last year. That's the only thing that could stop it. From a logical standpoint, this makes the most sense. Reward the teams. It's a grind. You know that. It's an absolute beast to get through what will soon be an 18-game schedule. Reward the teams that perform the best. And even though it's not a balanced schedule, you can't do that. No, the league will never be able to do that. They can't play a balanced schedule. There's not enough games.
Yeah. So just base it on the record, right?
You base it on the record. You're playing different divisions anyway. You're not just staying within your division. It's always baffled me how leagues take so long to figure that out. It's like baseball. Do you really think people thought it was a good idea to play teams within your own division 19 times? Do you think that's smart? Do you think people really want to see the Royals and Tigers play 19 times during the regular season? This makes a ton of sense. I don't know how you justify going against it. It's logical. Of course, we've lost all logic in our society anyway. Phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. The text line is Sports Radio 21,000. Let's get to the final results of our poll question from yesterday. Here's what we asked you. Who wins the national title game tonight? Was it Florida or Houston? I saw a lot of people on social media before the game. Houston's aggressiveness and their defense. Florida will not be able to handle it. Take the Cougars. I'm not saying defense doesn't win championships. Houston got there because of their defense. Houston got a 1 seed because of their defense. And Houston was winning by 12 because of their defense. But in the end, it was the offense primarily at the free throw line and the turnovers. I mean, Florida actually had more turnovers. But really, it was the offense that was the difference in the game because of your ability to score from the free throw line. So what were the final results of last night's or yesterday's poll question?
65% said Florida. So 65% were correct.
All right. We got a poll question for you out there right now. Which of golf majors do you like? The Masters, British Open, U.S. Open, or PGA Championship? You can vote on XP Mornings as often as you like. Those results come tomorrow morning. Dan Hasty filling in the morning, and he will give you that in the 8 o'clock hour. What about the daily wager for yesterday?
Yesterday, we took Florida -1. It was, a pick 'em. Just pick your team. And we took Florida. Okay. And I found myself rooting for Houston during the game, though. Yeah, I was rooting for Kelvin Sampson.
What do you got today for the daily wager?
Yeah, we'll take the Tigers to score first and win. It's +135. Tigers score first and win. Tarek Skubel's on the mound. Get them some run support. Get them that first win.
Okay, that's the daily wager brought to you by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Check out their sportsbook Ascend. It is a phenomenal place to be. By the way, Detroit's got to do that against Carlos Carrasco. We're back with more right after this.
Huge here for my good friends at Insureit. Now, we know inflation is making everything expensive, including your auto insurance. But what if you could instantly compare rates and find big savings? At Insureit, they make shopping for auto insurance fast and easy. One call gets you multiple quotes. Call 231-COMPARE now or visit insure.it. That's 231-COMPARE or insure.it, where smart drivers shop, compare, and save. Insure.it. Save money now.
in the den.
Step up to the plate with Eagle Casino and Sports, the mobile sportsbook app that you can bet on all your favorites all year round, including, of course, our national pastime. So download the app and start winning today at Eagle Casino and Sports. Made in Michigan, made for Michigan. Must be 21 years or older and in Michigan to play. Two players you should appreciate early in the Tigers season, Casey Mize and Spencer Torkelson. Both won ones and both have been questioned and I would say abandoned by the Tigers fan base. I'm not asking you to appreciate both because of their early season success, but because of their strong mental fortitude. Torkelson was forced to Toledo last year for 58 games where he struggled. He lost his position to a second-year player and had to earn his roster spot this year. Mize was left off the playoff roster last season and was told he had to earn a spot in the starting rotation this year. Both have done what they needed to do, and they are key reasons for a nice Tigers start to the season.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to Shep. Don't forget the huge show later today at 3 on the Michigan Sports Network.
This is how you know things have changed. You know things have changed for you as a Lions fan when you really have not looked at a mock draft yet. I just reviewed my first mock draft yesterday. In the past, I mean, before even last year, I would say over the last 2 years, it's been kind of like this. I mean, the draft is 16 days away in Green Bay, Wisconsin. In the past, we would have been talking about this since January. In the past, no, seriously.
No, you're so right.
All the years I've been doing the show, that's what it was. It would be like, okay, the season's over. The Super Bowl's finally over, even before the Super Bowl, because the Lions season was in the rearview mirror.
Lions are picking top 5
up on the various college players and who might fit what the Lions are trying to do. And so we would look at every single mock draft and we would bring it up. It would be a daily occurrence. And yesterday I found myself for the first time, like if I asked you, first 3 picks, where's Detroit choosing? Most people say, I don't know.
Yeah.
They're at 28, they're at 60, and they're at 120.
Couldn't be further from top 3.
Okay. So people don't, like in the NFL world, they don't look at necessarily first round, second round, third round. They look at the number. It's pick number 160. Okay. It's pick number 120, whatever the case may be. So for the first time, I thought, okay, I'm going to look at this mock draft. I don't care where Cam Ward is going. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go in the top 3. I wouldn't take him, but it's not my pick. I'd take Abdul Carter. I've said this from day one. That would be the number 1 pick for me. I don't care what team I am. I don't care if I'm Tennessee. Tennessee wants to go grab Cam Ward, go right ahead. I would take Abdul Carter. I want to take the best player available. Mason Graham historically, or at least recently, okay, as far as, I don't mean to say historically, but I mean, in many of the drafts that you're looking at, he is a top 5 player, which I think would surprise a lot of people. Or before the season began, I think a lot of people, even Michigan fans, would be surprised. Colston Loveland is a guy who's going to be in the top 25. Going to be a really good tight end. For the Lions, according to this CBS Sports, is it CBS Sports? Yes, CBS Sports, they did a 3-round draft. And I know how Lions fans are going to feel when I read these off, because they're addressing all needs. All of them are needs. And people are going to be, yes, they did exactly what I want. All I care about is if the guy, first of all, I think all 3 of these people should start. That's my philosophy. That's what I believe. And when you're taking in the first 3 rounds, I think they should be starters at some point. And there are exceptions, quarterbacks, I think. And sometimes there's a learning curve with certain positions, but I would like to see them as starters. Second of all, I just hope that they are this high on the Lions board. I do not care who Brad Holmes takes, because I trust in Brad Holmes. In Brad Holmes, we trust.
Yeah, he's earned it. He's earned that.
He's absolutely earned it.
It's not a blind faith
that these players who are being taken are high on their board. So if the highest guy on their board is Malaki Starks and he's a safety and he's there and you take him, I'm not going to be pissed off about it. I'm not reaching for a guy. My philosophy has always been this. I'm not reaching for a guy just based on position. I'm not doing it. I'm taking the best player I have. I'm ranking all these different players, all right? All these, 200 plus players, 300 players. I'm going to rank them all, and if my guy is there, I'm taking him. Now, if it's close, if it's narrow thin between a position that I feel pretty good at and a position of need, and they are, 28A and 28B, my scouting staff they're split on it. I may take the need. All right. Here's what CBSSports.com writes with the 28th pick. Have you heard of Gray Zabel? I didn't think so. That's because he played his college ball in North Dakota State. He's an interior offensive lineman. Here's what they write. And he's the second best interior offensive lineman in the draft, according to Pro Football Focus. No one helped themselves more at the Senior Bowl than Zabel, who played primarily left tackle in 2024 for North Dakota State University, but had experience at guard and center as well. He was used solely on the interior in Mobile, and he looked like a 10-year vet no matter where he lined up. Zabel stood out in Week 1's opener against Colorado. His stock has been on the rise ever since. Talking to teams at the Senior Bowl, he may be a better leader than football player, and that's saying an awful lot. This dude is 6'6", 312 pounds, would, without a doubt, if he's as good as they write him up to be. I'm not going to try and fool you and say, this is the guy you got to take, How do you not? If he's as good as they say, he's a starter from day one, period. I like that. And I would think you would like that too. With the 60th pick, you're in you follow the Big Ten. UCLA's on the Big Ten. Oluwafemi Oladejo, the edge rusher. I don't see him as a highly sought edge rusher based on what I've been reading in rankings of the various edge rushers for this NFL draft. So that's a little bit of a surprise for me there. And then what they have at 120, which is the third round, or 102, I should say, is Ty Felton, the wide receiver from Maryland. So two Big Ten guys who you have followed, no doubt, and two guys who, three guys, I should say, who address needs. I know we got some texts, and I know we want to get to a phone call as well. We'll pick it up more with that. But first, let me go to the phone lines. The Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. Trent, who's up on this Tuesday morning?
Freddie, thoughts on the Lions?
Freddie, good morning to you. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Shep. I was on the phone with Trent. Who was the first guy they had going in the mock draft for the Lions?
Ray Zabel. He's the interior offensive lineman for North Dakota State University. 6'6", 312 pounds, a beast of a player.
Got you. So, actually, I know that with the draft coming up, we've been hearing Brad Holmes a lot talk, hey, we got to sign our guys. We only have so much money. I mean, I don't know how real that is, He could be blowing smoke up somebody's butts, But you think that this is the year they actually, it's time to maybe move up to the top 6, 7 and get that left tackle if he slips, or Mason Graham if he slips, and you got him under control for 5, 6 years and can make an immediate impact right now?
What would it require to give up? And who's the guy you're targeting?
Well, the left tackle, his first name escapes me, from LSU.
Will Campbell. Will Campbell.
Will Campbell. Just start preparing for the future. And Mason Graham, defensive tackle. You're kind of preparing for the future, but they can also make an impact in a window where they clearly can win it all. And I think he would be. I know it's probably giving up extra, but I mean, how many times you had this opportunity to get far in the playoffs into a Super Bowl?
Well, I think the Lions, based on what they've done, and I think what Brad Holmes' philosophy is, I think they feel like they're going to have a lot of opportunities. I don't think this is that quote unquote window of opportunity. How does that? Let me ask you this: trading up and giving up some valuable resources, because you've traded up before. You traded up to get Jahmyr Gibbs. Why would you do that when at 28 you might be able to get the second best? Like, you're not getting Will Campbell if you don't trade into the top 5. So why would you trade up when you could at 28 realistically get one of the best interior offensive linemen that will help you just as much?
Well, I guess you make a good point there. I mean, if I don't know the player personally, so I can't speak of him. But if they think he makes just an impact at 28 and the guy at 5, then fine, that's great, and we save the resources. But I always hear, hey, trade up for that quarterback now because you get him under a rookie contract and you can build your team. Why does it always have to be a quarterback? Why can't it be a defensive lineman or a left tackle that you got under control that can make an? I mean, quarterbacks are not the only things that make an impact on a team. That's what pisses me off. I always hear quarterback always makes, and they are the most important. But give me a great left tackle, give me a great defensive tackle. They make just as much an impact on the team than a quarterback does. So,
yeah, no, I'm in agreement. I'm in agreement with you there, Freddie. And thanks for the phone call. I guess you would have to decide. You would have to talk to scouts. What's the difference between? I mean, you bring up Mason Graham, who's rated the best defensive tackle in the draft, and he's probably a top 5 pick. Where is he? How much better is he than Shamar Stewart of Texas A&M at the same position? I don't know. Okay. But if you don't have to give up a lot of resources to do that, I don't know why you would even consider giving up those resources to jump in, especially the top 5. I don't think that's happening. I think there are certain guys, Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, Will Campbell, Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, those guys, those 5 guys, unless it's need, unless somebody says, you know what, I've got to have Shedeur Sanders. Anyway, I think those 5 are clearly the best 5 players in this draft.
I do like that idea that Freddie brings up, though, of and Shep, to your point, I couldn't give you a name of like a player that I want to target, but just the idea of the Lions potentially trading up. I mean, that hasn't happened in forever, right? Where they're in this situation where it's like,
didn't they trade up to get Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah, no. I'm saying no. They traded back to get Jahmyr Gibbs.
Oh, they traded back to get.
Yeah, they were top.
I thought they
whatever
traded
they were.
up. I thought they traded back up in.
No, they had the Rams pick and they traded back to get Jahmyr. But I'm saying from the standpoint of like going all in type of thing, where it's like, oh my goodness, they traded up for Jameson Williams. I think that's probably what.
Yeah, that's probably what I'm thinking of.
But it's
it
different when you're not
forever.
picking top 2, top 5, whatever, right? Like you actually have draft capital, you have assets.
But why do people think in order for you to go all in, you've got to give up just about everything to go all in?
No, nothing. I'm just saying the aggression is exciting. Like
it's exciting for you're right. You're right. It is. It's exciting for you. It's exciting for fans. You don't draft for fans. What I try to do more than anything else
Thank
is
God.
Thank God. I try to put myself in the position of the general manager. And not enough fans do that. Immediately we start thinking with our hand. We don't know the difference between Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell.
Right.
You don't. Will Campbell
no clue.
out of LSU is considered the best offensive tackle. I think the second best offensive tackle is Kelvin Banks. It's debatable, him or the kid from Missouri whose name escapes me. But they're in that conversation. What is the biggest difference there? You're willing to give up a lot of capital to get what you would consider the final piece. Answer me this. What's the final piece for the Lions?
See, I think it's another edge rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson.
Okay. And I think most people would agree with you, knowing full well some of the moves you've already made, right? I mean,
yeah,
Derek Barnes and Marcus Davenport and so on and so forth. How far down would you go in this draft class of edge rushers to get the guy you think is most important, or you would be willing to sacrifice not
the guy that you think is that piece?
Right.
Yeah.
Like if they got James Pierce from Tennessee, who's considered the 4th best pass rusher, would that satisfy you? Or do you have to have Abdul Carter,
the top guy?
Right. And who says that he's going to be that difference maker? I mean, Jacksonville thought Javon Walker was. And really, Aiden Hutchinson's been a better player than he has, right? So
yeah,
there's Jalen Walker out of Georgia. Is that the guy you would target then to make it exciting for you? Is it Mike Green out of Marshall? Don't tell me you've watched any Thundering Herd football because you haven't. All right?
Right.
Pierce, Michael Williams, Nick Scorton. Where does it stop? Why do you have to go, quote unquote, all in by giving up so much to get a guy at what position, knowing that you could have gotten the same position need a little bit if you would have held on to those
late in the
resources.
first round? Yeah, no, I got you there. My point is more just I understand the excitement for Lions fans right now because it is somewhat unfamiliar territory with they're picking at the end of the first round. I know they have the last few years, but they're picking at the end of the first round. And what do they need? They need like one or two things, right, that everyone wants. So just go get it.
But you don't have to go up to get it, is my point. I think you can get it by staying
certainly
where
don't
you
have
are.
to. Yeah.
You can get it while staying where you are. This is the hard thing about this draft, though. The NFL draft in general. It's really hard because we just don't know the players, man. Sorry, we don't. We like to think we do, but we don't.
7 rounds.
It's not even just 7 rounds. Look at the first round. You don't know who's worthy at 28. Neither do I.
No. And it's impossible to know, too.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at some of these.
So we just feel
drafts,
like in
Ashton
order,
Genty is going to the Cowboys and he's going to the Bears. It's like you
we
have
just
no
feel
idea.
like, you know what? In order for our team to improve, you've got to get the best there is available out there. Well, you'd have to give up an awful lot to get Abdul Carter. And
yeah,
I would get him. I would take him. I love him. Okay, he's my favorite player in this draft. I would do it. What would it take to get there? I don't know. So for me to say I would do it is unfair. Would I draft him if I had the first overall pick? Yes. Would I move heaven and earth to get to the first? No, I would not. Because you're going to get an impact player where you're at. Let me get to a quick text before we got to get out of here. Go ahead.
Yeah, this one says the Lions proposition makes sense unless the Lions are the 9-9 team that misses the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, we won't know, will we? We won't know until everything's taken care of, until we play that season, until we recognize it. It's been fun, though. It's fun to talk about. It is. But again, it's the emotion that gets part of it and sometimes gets in our way as well. Our thanks for your phone calls and for your texts as well. Always a pleasure. We're back with you tomorrow morning. Dan Hasty sits in this chair. He will take you from 6 until 9 on X's and Bros. These same station affiliates will carry the huge show later on today at 3 o'clock. Have a great Tuesday, everybody, and thanks for listening.
Huge here from my good friend Josh Garvey. Now he runs Dorn Mayhew's Grand Rapids office in downtown GR. They're one of the world's top accounting and CPA firms.